Welcome into LTSN, our second of this doubleheader getting underway. An 8 p.m. tip, Michigan-Dearborn in town, and off we go from Don Riddler Fieldhouse. 5-7 Blue Devils under head coach Josh Pickens, taking on Michigan-Dearborn, a team coming in at 2-8 on the year. They've struggled. The Blue Devils have lost 3 in a row, but they feel that last Saturday against Indiana Tech, they got back to playing their game. Early and often we saw that shot going for Ty Searles. Ivanovic there to clean up the glass. Really nice rotation of guards for this Blue Devil team this year. You see the freshman Carter France out there. Ty Searles has been excellent, second in the WAC in scoring. It was another thriller down the stretch last Saturday for Lawrence Tech against Indiana Tech. The number 16 ranked team in the country came in here and got all they bargained for. It was a tight one. It was the second 4-point loss on this home floor for Lawrence Tech. They are 1-2 at home. Searles finds himself open and knocks down the 3. He was hot late. Blue Devils had their chances in that thriller down the stretch. Couldn't quite finish it off. So now you think that, a team that has been so competitive, so fun to watch, so feisty, the ability to come back. Head coach Josh Pickens has credited that to the leadership on this team. And now you think it's just a matter of putting together a 4-quarter performance. And if this one does go down the wire again, perhaps being able to finish it off. As Searles is fouled on his way to the cup. Fouled that time by Keegley. 5 on the floor for Michigan-Dearborn. You have Paul, Jackson, Keegley, Latimer, and McNult. On the Lawrence Tech side, Searles, France, Blakely, Bethel, and Ivanovic. Same starting 5 that we've seen on a pretty consistent basis for this Lawrence Tech men's basketball program that has had a bit of a resurgence this season. I mentioned 5-7 on the season, but they are 1 win away from claiming a victory that would match the most that they've ever had in the modern era. It's a program that has historically struggled, but they are revamped, reloaded. 5 on the shot clock for Bethel. The pump goes up and finishes. 7-2 start on the home floor for Lawrence Tech. Got off to a nice start against Indiana Tech last Saturday. We knew, though, that would be a game that would be competitive throughout. There's Jalen Paul, 5'9" guard from Fort Wayne. Most of the players in this Michigan-Dearborn team are homegrown. A lot of Michigan natives, a couple of Indiana natives. Meanwhile, back comes Carter France, Dansville, Michigan native. Here's the Columbus, Ohio native, Jalen Bethel, trying to go up. He gets fouled. Really has a nice size advantage overall down there against the Michigan-Dearborn team. Matthew McNult, 6'6", 200. Biggest player out on the floor for the Wolverines. But Bethel's body, he uses that so well offensively and defensively. Head coach Josh Pickens thinks it's just a matter of him finding that consistency. As anticipated for a freshman, here he is going to work again. Opts to kick back out. Searles, the senior, he's had plenty of consistency so far this season. It's a 9-2 start for Lawrence Tech. We saw the women get off to a 10-2 start against Michigan-Dearborn on this floor. That was a 6 p.m. tip-off earlier today, and the women claimed a big victory over the number 23 ranked Wolverines to get back on track under head coach Kylene Biggs. And they have to be satisfied with that 4-quarter performance that they were able to put together. Really flipped the scripts. Struggled in the 3rd quarter against Indiana Tech, the women did last Saturday. But they bounced back and played an excellent 3rd quarter and closed out very well in the 4th against the Wolverines. It's a pleasure to have you here tuning in for our second of this doubleheader on LTSN, your home for Blue Devil Athletics. I'm Jason Rush Jr. here with you, producer Jenna Skulski behind the screens tonight. A 9-2 start for Lawrence Tech. Here's Blakely. Transfer open in the corner. He'll dump it down low to his fellow newcomer, Bethel. In rhythm, up in the hook, and he gets fouled. A 7-0 run for Lawrence Tech here. They've hit 4 of their last 5, and now an opportunity at the line for Bethel. Probably been one of the lone weaknesses in his game so far. It's 53% from the line. He started all 12 games. That one a pretty rainbow that dropped on down as we see Devontae Miles, the 6th man on this team, checked back in. 6th man role is new for Devontae Miles this year, but a role that he has embraced and embraced so well. A leader on the floor, such an excellent rebounder, such an excellent all-around player, high character guy, as head coach Josh Pickens has described him. Such an intense group, and it starts with the intensity of head coach Josh Pickens. So alert, knows his team inside out. They watch film together. Late night practices, dedication has been on display. It'll be a fairly light winter break for Lawrence Tech. No games over Christmas break, but they will be practicing. These guys stick around an extra 4 or 5 days in comparison to the students that leave early. Searles looking for his second three, couldn't quite find it, but I mentioned Miles' ability to rebound the basketball right on cue there, and that'll allow for Searles to set it right back up. 11-2 start to this one for Lawrence Tech. 4 minutes in. Blue Devils flowing well against a 2-8 Michigan Dearborn team. We wondered how Lawrence Tech would handle coming out as the favorite in comparison to the underdog role that they have played so much throughout the season. They're handling it quite well in the early goings. 11-2. Long three early in the shot clock. What a shot from distance. That time from Keegley. They feel he can be a dangerous shooter. Just 9 for 39 from three-point range coming into this one, but he knocks down a shot there from Steph Curry range to make it 11-5. Blakely jabs right, drives left, stripped. Nice play by Paul, the point guard at the controls. And here come the Wolverines in transition, looking for another. Couldn't find it. Nice job from France to stick with the board. Now he's double-teamed in the corner. Lost it on a fresh shot clock for the Wolverines. We get something down low, though, here. Net was stuck on the rim. Searles will take the duties of getting it loose. Isaiah Cumberland. Freshman checks in for Bethel. Freshman for freshman swap. See ya. Jackson makes his way in for the Blue Devils here, or for Michigan Dearborn rather. 15:02 to play. First half. 11-5 start for Lawrence Tech. Couple of turnovers in a row. Paul looking to take advantage. France thought he had all ball, but a foul called there. And that'll earn a couple of free throws here for the sophomore from Fort Wayne. Slim build, 5'9" guard, transfer from Shrine University. He struggled mightily shooting the ball this season, but a solid distributor. Gets the first free throw to go. Ivanovic makes his way back in, France out. Into the game for the Wolverines. It'll be Chechnik. So 11-6 after those free throws, and now Searles can get back into things, watched by Chechnik. Kind of a zone rotation action defensively here for Michigan Dearborn. That opens up Blakely momentarily, but went to the rim and was denied by Gigliotti. 6'9" forward with size down there. Now driving from right to left across the paint went Xavier Crawford. Gotta leave it for the Blue Devils to spring the other way. Searles stops, whips a pass down low. Miles finishes at the rim. Snapping a little mini drought there was Miles. They were 0 for 4, hadn't had a field goal in a little over 2 minutes. Nice presence here inside of Don Riddler Fieldhouse tonight. Band in attendance. Always adds to a nice atmosphere here. Fadeaway jumper from Paul off the mark. Cumberland to Searles. He'll stop. He'll pop off the front of the rim. Paul around a screen. It's the Michigan Dearborn team that was successful a year ago, went 13-7 in conference play, 21-13. They now nail the three there. They've lost key pieces, though. The script has been flipped. Just 2 wins this year. They cut it down to a 3-point game. They were 7-7 on the road last season. Beat Lawrence Tech in this building as Ivanovic tries to answer back. This year just 0-4 on the road. Going into road environments, they have struggled. We'll see if the Blue Devils can solidify this home court advantage today. Bethel will check in after this quick breather. 13-10, the Blue Devil lead. Timeout called. 13:03 to play here in the opening half. Welcome back to LTSN. 13:02 to play, first half. 13-10, the Blue Devil lead in the game on the Michigan-Dearborn side. Xavier Crawford now in. Another 3 attempts. We'll go back the other way. That shot dropped. Would have tied it. Coming off the fingertips that time. Pretty jump shot of Cody Keegley. He was looking for his second three-pointer of the game. But it was a foul underneath that will give possession back to Lawrence Tech. One of 5 WAC matchups on this Wednesday night slate. France thought about it there. Blue Devils are 1 for 4 from deep in the early goings. They go down low there for Cumberland. Off the mark, 5 of 12 shooting overall for Lawrence Tech. Back come the Wolverines. They're at 3 of 11 from the field. Both teams have struggled over the last few minutes. Michigan-Dearborn just 2 of their last 10. Searles, the nifty point guard, lofts it over top. Bethel, easy finish. 15-10 now here in the first half. Bethel averaging a little over 12 points per game to go along with 7.5 boards. He's made an impact away from the stat line as well with his defense, with his rebounding. The shovel here, the drive from Ontario Burnett off the mark. Michigan-Dearborn will need to make buckets like that, not only in this one, but throughout the season if they want to have success. Searles navigating his way into the lane. Bethel came away with it. That's the body we talked about down low. Was denied ultimately. Still 18 on the clock here, though, for the Blue Devils. 11:18 to go, almost halfway through the first half. Ivanovic open, almost from distance. It's around and off and into the grasp that time of Chichester. Searles defending. Blue Devil bench gets into it. And now we'll get a quick officials timeout here. I believe Ontario Burnett, officials is going to ask him to take off his necklace. So that'll cause for a substitution. Michigan-Dearborn will keep possession. Zach Latimer checked back into the game. Impressive sharpshooting freshman. Nice little soft hook there from another sharpshooter. It was Keegley. And he now has 8 points, leading the way on both sides. Ivanovic got it. 6-point Blue Devil lead. 10:19 to go, first half. This Wolverine team at 2-8. Blue Devils looking to get back on track, get to 6-7. Hopefully get back to 500 in the conference. Corner three that time, around and off. Nice tap back out on the board, but the foul was called down low. Are they going to keep it with Michigan-Dearborn actually here? Head coach Josh Pickens incredulous with the call. It was an interesting one. Looks like France had a Wolverine all over his back. And then out on the perimeter, Miles went down as well. Not sure who they called the foul on. I wonder if it must have been out on the perimeter with that collision that Miles had. Not quite sure what France would have done down low to be called for a foul. Keegley again, he's been hot early. Watched by Blakely, good defender. They'll dish it back out here. Xavier Crawford, Detroit native. Coming into the season, they felt his leadership would be something to look for. Here's Ontario Burnett, transfer. Into the corner, Latimer with 8 on the shot clock. Another three rains down from Keegley. He's been hot early. Three for three from downtown. Came into this one just 9 for 39 on the season. And it's back to a 3-point game. Fourth home game of the season for LTU. A much improved group this year. Head coach Josh Pickens said that they keep him young and old at the same time. Plenty of energy on this group. And they have been fun to watch. They've been fun to watch develop. It's almost like watching them develop with each game. And that's where you are at in this current stage of the process. Pretty much all newcomers, a lot of freshmen, a few red shirts as well. Meanwhile, under 10 on the shot clock. Here's Devontae Miles. He can take it himself, gallops into the paint, and gets fouled with 4 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Deflating defensive possession for the Wolverines, who did well really throughout that possession. But then Miles, using his ability to drive, lower that shoulder, he can get just about everywhere he wants when he desires. .908 to play in this first half. A little choppy over the last few minutes. Had a nice rhythm to it to start. First half against Indiana Tech. It was very up and down. Blue Devils did a nice job to keep pace with the Warriors throughout. Felt like they came back from down 10 about 8 times and just kept on fighting back and back and back. Now, head coach Josh Pickens did say he wants to find a way to get over those offensive lulls, but it certainly did feel afterwards that he appreciated the effort in general, not just the comebacks, but the way that they got back to the grit, the way that they got back to the rebounding, and the way that they got back to playing well on this end of the floor. But the open threes have been a problem in this last couple of games for Lawrence Tech. Shot clock didn't reset there on the air ball. The Lawrence Tech band serenading Matthew McNult there. Another opportunity from distance as Keegley had a bit of a heat check there. Couldn't hit it. Back comes Searles. A lot of energy in his game. Hops to the cup and finishes at the cup. McNult's Harmony 2 also in the game now for Michigan-Dearborn. Head coach Taylor Langley at the helm for Michigan-Dearborn, going up against head coach Josh Pickens. This Blue Devil team was picked to finish last in the conference, trying to come up with a big win tonight in their effort to prove that notion wrong. They've proved it wrong to this point. And they're up 7 at home, looking for their second home victory of the year. Another foul called down low. It's kind of slowed the pace a bit. Gigliotti against Bethel. We'll see if they go to that down low. That's a fun matchup. Gigliotti a couple inches taller. Bethel both about the same size as the Blue Devils come away with the strip there. First turnover of the game for Michigan Dearborn. Can the Blue Devils capitalize on it? Bethel, the kick to Blakely. Hit a 3 in the first half on Saturday. Chased down the board, but not quite in time. So now Jalen Paul, Fort Wayne native. Off a screen, stepping to his right that time, and getting the 3 to go was Zach Latimer. So efficient from deep, 45% from out there. And, you know, it's not like he takes 1 or 2 a game. He lets it fly. 14 attempts over his last 2 games coming into this one. So that's a kid to watch out for. Just a freshman from Menchaca, Indiana. In transition, there he was again. Couldn't quite get it into his grasp the way he wanted to. 4-point game. We get a foul called on LTU down low. Isaiah Cumberland at the scores table getting ready to check in here. Gigliotti, that size with Bethel out of the game now. Getting his finger checked out actually over on the Blue Devil bench. Saw him take a hard fall on Saturday. Had to go get checked out by the trainers. He was obviously all right from that. Back in the starting lineup today. With 6:39 to go in the first half, Gigliotti at the free throw line. Jason is just 53% at the free throw line. Off on both there. Rebound springs out. Look at the height Miles got on that jump. But the ball rolls out to Michigan Dearborn. Nothing much you can do about that. Now time to get back on defense and regroup. Michigan Dearborn has slowed down the pace for this Blue Devil team. It's fun to watch Lawrence Tech push. But defensively kind of been hemmed back there. Open 3 in the corner is down. A 1-point game. Michigan Dearborn looking to spark some momentum on the road. It was Mahdi Hamadi, the 6'5 sophomore from Dearborn, draining the triple. And we find ourselves in a tight one. Welcome back to the Lawrence Tech Sports Network. Your Blue Devils are up 1 with 6:13 to go in this first half. A 6-0 Michigan Dearborn run. Blue Devils haven't scored in a little over 2 minutes. Can they change that here? Transfer from California, Dalen Blakely calls out the play. Zone look for Michigan Dearborn on defense. collapsing on Blakely here. Not much room. Kind of suffocating the shooters on the perimeter. Excellent perimeter defense, but Ivanovic able to rain it down with about 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Now back comes Michigan-Dearborn. They've hit 5 threes of their own. Keegley has been a big part of that. He kicks to another excellent three-point shooter in Zach Latimer off the mark. Cumberland went down. Little update, Bethel rather, still getting looked at over on the sideline. Appears to be getting his hand wrapped up now. Gigliotti, meanwhile, at 6'9", kind of manning the paint down there, and Michigan-Dearborn will also bring in Chichester. Devontae Miles can certainly hold his ground down there, down low, though. And, you know, head coach Josh Pickens has touched on the fact that Miles and Bethel are kind of the two lone paint presences for this Blue Devil team. Aside from that, it is really an inside-out game that they want to play, a drive-and-kick game. They know they have shooters, and they want to play to the strength of those shooters. 9 of 22 shooting early on for Lawrence Tech. 3 of 8 from deep. Carter France at the end of the bench right now. Ivanovic has played well in the early goings with 5 points on 2 of 4 shooting. Gigliotti and Latimer, who cuffs, drives, finishes. Nice play there from Keegley. Averaging about 9 points per game. He already has 11 on 4 of 5 shooting. 3 of those 4 field goals have been from distance. Ivanovic will try his luck from distance again. Off the mark, rebound tapped around. Cumberland skying high for the board, earning Lawrence Tech another position. Suros to the free throw line, kicks to Blakely, drives baseline, acrobatic move to the cup, fouled. It was called on Jason Gigliotti, his second foul. Wonder how much longer he'll be in there with 2 fouls. There is that substitution that I thought would come. Gigliotti checks out. Reed Sellers, also 6'9", checks in, but Sellers with much less experience. Redshirt freshman. He's played in 6 games this year. Remember looking at him on the roster last season and thinking he could eventually be a paint presence on this team, and now he's getting a shot down there, and here he is with the ball. Kind of a linky 6'9" right now. You certainly think his body will fill out. They can get Bethel back in. He can maybe win that paint presence battle down low. Foul called there on the eventful scrum. (27-23) Blue Devil lead. Head coach Josh Pickens felt that on Saturday the team got back to where they once were. Felt they didn't do that in the prior game against the top-ranked team in the WAC, Cornerstone. Cornerstone ranked number 9 in the NAIA. Leading the way this season. It was kind of the toughest 2-game stretch that you'll come across in the conference if you're a Blue Devil fan. They won't have to go through anything like that again. You know, it was a stretch against the number 9 team in the country. Next thing you know, the number 16 team in the country comes in here, and you go toe-to-toe with the number 16 team, hoping to carry that momentum into tonight. They did just that, getting off to a 9-2 start. Michigan-Dearborn has used the 3-ball, though, to kind of be an equalizer in this one. And we find ourselves at a 27-25 game. Ivanovic, he'll swing it over to Cumberland. Cut from Miles, had to get control of it. Did, and finished. Keegley looks down low this time for Crawford. Crawford fades, fires, hits. Xavier Crawford, 9.2 points per game. Coming into this season, they felt he could be a guy to look to for leadership. Steady, consistent, productive player in his entire career. Minutes are actually at a career low this season. Was a 30-minute per game player his entire career as he finishes again there. This year he's down to about 22 minutes per game, but still embracing that role, similar to a Devontae Miles on the Blue Devils side of things. All of a sudden we're at a tie ball game with 3:12 to play in the opening half. Draining a three is Blakely. Blakely 2 for 3 from deep now. Miles leading scorer on the floor right now for Lawrence Tech with 9 points. Kind of a quiet 9 off the bench. Bethel back in with a couple of fingers wrapped. Cumberland on the deck. Tied up. This will favor Lawrence Tech on the possession. We get a timeout here. 2:46 to go. Opening half. 32-29 is the Blue Devil lead. .246 to go. First half, Blue Devils with a 3-point lead. In search of their third WAC victory of the season. In search of a victory that could possibly earn them a tie for the most wins that they've ever seen in a season in the modern era. That's 6. They're currently 5-7 on the year. As that sequence will ultimately end up with the Blue Devils, Alec Ivanovic earning a couple of free throws here. Ivanovic, all net on the first free throw. Such a clean, pretty release. Textbook shooter. Asked him the other day how his ankle was feeling. You know, he had those ankle problems early on in conference plays. He knocks down another one. Said he's feeling much better. So that's a good sign for Blue Devil fans. Ivanovic, the sophomore, found his role last year. Really shooting the basketball. He has expanded his game, able to put it on the deck. Kind of reminds you of a Klay Thompson-like player for the Golden State Warriors. Movement off of screens, able to catch and shoot, able to defend. Strong, tall, shooting guard. Cumberland, meanwhile, off on those next subsequent free throws. So still a 5-point game. Head coach Josh Pickens clapping on the sideline. Xavier Crawford at the controls for Michigan Dearborn. 2:23 to play, opening half. The pirouette in the paint. To no avail that time, and Miles snags it down. Over the WAC logo, over the timeline. Here he comes into the forecourt, gives it to Blakely. They'll run the action. Bethel sets up in the post. Working against the freshman Sellers. Freshman against freshman battle there. And called for the travel, I believe, was Bethel. They're going to call him on an offensive foul, actually, there. Blue Devils back with Michigan Dearborn back with the basketball here. Cody Keegley, he'll kick over to his fellow sharpshooter. Down low they go to Sellers. Back out. He's already knocked down one of those. Zach Latimer has. Off the mark there, though. Blue Devils will get into the half-court set now. Ivanovic pops off a screen. Off the mark. Both teams defending well. Just 35-29, but slicing his way through traffic there went Jalen Paul. Got the start at point guard tonight. One of the positions that Michigan Dearborn had to replace last season. Now here's Cumberland. Swing it over. Bethel back to the basket. Powering, turning. They're going to call this on the floor. No bucket. 51 seconds to play in the first half. 34-31 is the Blue Devil lead on the home floor. Bethel will go to the line, though, as LTU is in the bonus now. Double bonus, actually. No field goals in the last 2:31 for Lawrence Tech. Bethel at the line where he has struggled a bit this season. It's the first one to go. Who can have a good ending to this first half? Final minute we saw was so important in the women's game earlier today when LTU was down at halftime, but could have been down a lot more. They cut what was an 8-point lead for the Michigan Dearborn women down to 3, and really carried that momentum into the second half. And it was a spectacular second half to watch for a woman that got back on track today. So another timeout called. 5-point game, 36-31, 46.8 to go in the first half of play here on the LTSN Sports Network. You're watching Blue Devil men's basketball. Welcome back to LTSN. Clock rolling under a minute to go in the first half. Blue Devils with a 5-point lead at home. Nice wraparound pass from Paul there to Gigliotti, who finishes underneath. Blakely looks to the sideline where he gets the signals in here. He's been given a lot of trust in his first year in a Blue Devil uniform. Doesn't matter what team you're on, what level you're on. His point guard duties are one to put in the right hands, and they feel they have it in the right hands. Meanwhile, a chance for Michigan Dearborn with plenty of time to get across the half-court line. 3 is down from Paul to wrap up the first half and tie it up. A big shot from Jalen Paul after the miss on the Blue Devil end. So we have a tie game at 36 after one half. We see it back here for the second half of action, a thrilling second half. We could be in store once again on this home floor for Lawrence Tech. We'll see you back in about 15 minutes here on the LTSN Sports Network. Welcome back to the Lawrence Tech Sports Network. 36 apiece after the first half. There's a big three from Paul to wrap up that first half. And back, here we go, underway. From Don Riddler Fieldhouse. Searles launches. Having off the mark, had a hand right in his face that time. Searles, the second leading scorer in the WAC conference. Gigliotti. Paul, watched by Searles here. Stop and pop from 18. Looking to stay hot into the second half. Couldn't quite do it. Still a tie game. Blue Devils got off to a really nice 9-2 start. Five on the floor as Searles drives and gets fouled. He's out there with Ivanovic, Blakely, Bethel, and Carter France, the starting five for Michigan Dearborn. Paul, Keegley, McNult, and Gigliotti. Searles at the line 84% this season. Such a reliable player. They go to him down the stretch. When you have a guy who is 84% at the line, and you are in these tight games, appears as though the Blue Devils find themselves in another tight one now. He is a guy who can come up big. So is the guy defending right now, Carter France, staring into the eyes of Jared Paul here. Here is Searles now, off a screen, trying to get some movement. Jared Jackson for Michigan Dearborn, now finding himself open, but pumping and driving was Keegley. Wraparound pass, and the bucket, and the foul for Gigliotti. And a chance for Michigan Dearborn to take the lead now. Gigliotti does, in fact, give the Wolverines the lead with 18:50 to play in the second half. Gigliotti almost came away with the steal there. France, his jumper from the top, off the mark, and back come the Wolverines. Blue Devils down one. Gigliotti feeling it now on the baseline drive. Thought he was fouled. Didn't get the call. Now Carter France. The kick finds its way to France. Off the mark, still in search of his first three of the night. Devontae Miles' second foul. Ivanovic checks back in for France. France hasn't found his rhythm yet tonight. But a player that you can never put to rest in a game like this. Could see his name pop back up late like we did against Indiana Tech. Blue Devils get a miss, down one. Searles. Bethel looking, bouncing, double comes. Nice dump underneath. Bethel, nice passer for his young age, able to find Ivanovic there. The Blue Devils couldn't capitalize on that possession. Paul, he continues his little run here that began with that big bucket to tie things up at the end of the first half. Michigan Dearborn now a chance to get this lead up to 3. Despite this Michigan-Dearborn team being 2-8, head coach Josh Pickens came in with the respect that they do deserve. He talked about how good of a team they are, the fact that they have played really good teams this year, the fact that their record doesn't necessarily indicate how good of a team they can be. Searles 3 off the mark, still in search of his rhythm in the second half. Paul in rhythm the other way. Watched by Miles. Cross-court kick into the corner. Corner 3 is down. Matthew McNult, 6'6" forward, drains it. He's shooting 37% from deep on the season, and this is the largest lead of the night for Michigan-Dearborn. LTU has led by as much as 7. Now they're down 6. Haven't scored in a little over 2 minutes. They gave it away. These are the lulls that head coach Josh Pickens has talked about from this young team. They're trying to fix it. A little bit of a hop there, and that'll give it back to the Blue Devils from Matthew McNult. Over anxious that time. Blue Devils need to settle down here. Try to find their groove back. Scoring drought is over 3 minutes now. Bethel shovels. Searles drives and gets fouled. Possibly a couple of much-needed free throws and points coming here at the line with 16:04 to play in the second half. Searles drops it. 44-39 now. One of 5 WAC matchups in the conference tonight. Head coach Taylor Langley's team is playing well. Coming off a 70-57 loss to Concordia. Concordia 0-5 in the conference, and it's now a 7-point Michigan-Dearborn lead. Searles led the way for the Blue Devils with 24 against Indiana Tech. Got off to a really nice start, went 5 for 8 from deep in that game. There's going to be a foul called here. Searles just 1 for 5 from deep in this game. Blue Devils have shot 4 of 15 from distance overall. A couple of options off a screen. They eventually get it into Gigliotti. Ontario Burnett. Now Jared Paul. Jalen Paul driving, stopping, fading. Look at the rebound from Gigliotti. That's something they knew they had coming back despite losing pieces. And he has excelled on the glass as anticipated tonight. Jalen Bethel not in there right now. Bethel has 3 rebounds. Cumberland actually leading the way for the Blue Devils with 5 rebounds. Meanwhile, in transition, off the mark, Michigan-Dearborn. It's a roll off Burnett in favor of Lawrence Tech. Ivanovic coming back in here. Calls for Dalen Blakely. Searles trying to post up down low. 14-17 to play in the second half, a 48-41 game. Blue Devils got off to a 9-2 start. They've kind of slipped away offensively in this second half through the first 6 minutes or so. Miles back to the basket here. See if they go to Miles more often in the post in this half. Searles will pull. Searles strong. Cumberland chases it down. Lofts it back out here now for Searles. Get a foul away from the ball in Michigan-Dearborn here. Looks like it went against, I think it was Cody Keegley. Really got off to a nice start for Michigan-Dearborn. There is Miles. They do go to him. And he cuts the lead down to 5. 2-possession game. And the Blue Devils get back to how they started this game. Able to draw the charge. There was Miles doing it at both ends, as he typically does. Ontario Burnett called for the charge there. Miles calls for Searles rather calls for Miles into the backcourt to give him a note on the play. We'll see what they run here. It's a little slip, pick, and roll for him. Went off the foot of Miles, and this will go back the other way for Michigan-Dearborn. Nice design. Wasn't quite clean enough in terms of the execution. What a drive that time. Getting to the cup and finishing Jalen Paul. Small 5'9" build, just a little over, shade over 150 pounds. Soaking wet, but he is not afraid to go into the paint and amongst the trees. Smallest guy out there is Cumberland at the other end. Also still kind of developing into his body. Will go to the free throw line. 7-point lead. Cumberland a chance to once again cut it back down to a 2-possession game with 12:52 to play in the third quarter. First free throw attempt off the front of the rim. Blakely back in for Carter France. .52 to go, and Cumberland will knock it down to make it a 6-point game at least. Blue Devils at 5-7 on the season. 2-3 in WAC play. And another tight one here. Paul was walking the tightrope that time, walked a bit too much. Kind of feels like the newcomers have taken the pressure off the ball a bit for guys like Ty Searles and Devontae Miles this year. Those two were the go-to scorers a season ago, had the ball in their hands most of the time. Now it feels like this offense can run more fluid motions when they're at their best, when they're clicking on all cylinders. It feels like something that could perhaps be effective eventually as this team continues to get deeper and deeper with the freshmen that will eventually see more time on this floor. Both of these lineups pretty much go with the same rotation throughout. A lot of guys playing heavy minutes. And we're in the stages where those heavy minutes can now start playing a role of fatigue. Meanwhile, it's one-on-one with Crawford against Miles. Nice matchup here. Crawford hops, fades, fires off the mark. Rebound pulled down by Ivanovic. Back comes Searles. Motoring ahead to the free throw line. He'll wheel around, finds Blakely. And now Searles with his head up can scan the floor a bit. Miles posting up. He'll work against the freshman here. Foul called on Zach Latimer. Miles knocks down the first to make it a 5-point game. Coach Pickens has talked about how he needs for his seniors to be rock solid in games like this. Doesn't matter what the team's record is. Every game a big one. And at this stage, this Blue Devil team on the rise, attempting to build up this program, and a win to get to 500 in the conference would be big tonight. Miles at the line hoping to make it a 4-point game. Does. Miles, a guy who's just a shade under 70% from the line on the season. Hits a couple of big ones, and we're back to a 4-point game as we get into the latter stages now, almost to the halfway point. Crawford with a smile on his face to Gigliotti. Now the alley-oop to Crawford. Nice back cut there, and Michigan-Dearborn finishes the pretty play. Ivanovic looking to the post. Miles on the face-up. A little bit of a size advantage down there. That's brilliant footwork. Man, his moves are fun to watch down there. He knows where he wants to go with it as soon as he touches that basketball, trying to kind of analyzes, kind of scans what he has, and then just goes at it. And it's so cerebral. It's a combination of footwork. I actually had a chance to play a game of horse with Devontae, and he was kind of showing me the footwork moves that he'll go to. I had trouble keeping up with all the moves that he can do as he snags down the board there, vacuuming it on in. Now he'll gallop the other way up the floor. Devontae did beat me in horse, by the way. Here is Searles triggering from distance. Now the Orlando native Miles, nice job to move his feet defensively. Created a tough jump shot for Zach Latimer, who is an efficient shooter. Searles the other way to the paint. Kicks to the corner. Three. Ivanovic off the mark. Blue Devils trying to get a little run going here. Offensive rebound from Blakely to the top for Searles. Sees a lane. Ivanovic, no. Cumberland, yes, from distance. It's off the front of the rim. And Michigan-Dearborn can try to slow down the rhythm a bit here. Let this game breathe a little bit. We have, in fact, reached the halfway point now. 9:50 to play. Second half. Did we get a foul down low, I think, on Cumberland? This game had a really nice rhythm to it over the last few minutes. Bethel looking to check back in here. On the Michigan-Dearborn side, Jared Jackson will check in. Not before a timeout, though. You're watching Blue Devil basketball on your home for Blue Devil Athletics. The Lawrence Tech Sports Network, 9:49 to play. 4-point game here in Southfield. Four-point game. Michigan-Dearborn with the lead. They trailed the entire first half. Hit the three to tie it at the end of the first half. And then carry the momentum over to the second, where they now have a 6-point lead. Blue Devils have done well to keep it close and not give up here. They fought their way all the way back. Bethel at the top. He'll swing it over this time for Searles. The drive, the dump, and now he's fouled there with 9:24 to go in the second half of a 6-point game right now. It'll be interesting to watch this one down the stretch. Who can kind of keep their momentum flowing? Who can stay calm? Who can stay steady? That'll be interesting. And meanwhile, it's Bethel at the line here with a chance for two. Bethel, a guy shooting about 53% at the line on the season. Blue Devils will have another opportunity here on the offensive side of things. The hop step into the paint. Searles able to finish. 4-point game. Chichester now in for Michigan-Dearborn. They drop it down low for Crawford. Backing, turning, fading, firing. Gigliotti's done a nice job on the boards in the second half. Chichester, he can stretch the floor and does. So he gets it back up to a 7-point game after the little mini run from the Blue Devils to cut it back. That did cut it back down to 4. Searles crosses, fighting in the paint. Bethel, nice rebound. This feels like a big possession, and he gets fouled. Ivanovic checks back in. Cumberland will head out. With 8:22 to play in the second half, Lawrence Tech finds themselves in a familiar spot. Down about 6. They've been trailing by a margin similar to this, 6, 7, 8 points around this particular time in games. And each time, it feels like, at least on this floor, they've been able to come back. Can they find that sort of resolve once again? You knew they weren't hoping to get into a game like this for now the 4th home game in a row, but here we are, a 6-point game. They're able to survive a couple of Michigan-Dearborn offensive possessions there, and back comes Devontae Miles. Plenty of players who aren't afraid of these moments. Searles is one of those guys who certainly isn't afraid of the moment. Ivanovic goes down low. Bethel up and under, blocked by Gigliotti. He continues to do a nice job down there, combining with Crawford. The drop pass for Crawford. Crawford powering, and that's got to be an offensive foul. It is. Searles, 2 dribbles into the paint. Blakely answering back on the boards. Had it stripped. Duel ensues, and he lost it. Now the other way. Michigan-Dearborn, Cody Keegley streaking in off the transition. That time it was Chichester. Searles looking to keep this pace up. He'll curl back. Little hesitation move. What a dive on the baseline. Was blocked, but then he went back up. Bethel will go back the other way. Gigliotti dumps, lost it, out of bounds, so go back in favor of Lawrence Tech. Nice cut from Miles. Had to corral it though, and that kind of disrupted the fluidity of things. 6-point game still. Feels like it has been for a while now. Lawrence Tech just one of their last 9 from the field. They've missed 5 in a row. Searles at the line, where he is 84%. Makes it a 5-point game. Once again, the Blue Devils holding strong in these late game situations. Back to the way they've defended well as well over the past couple of minutes. Michigan-Dearborn hasn't scored in a little over 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Gigliotti, watched by Ivanovic. Chichester. Michigan-Dearborn hasn't gone outside as much in this second half. It's been more inside work. So stay with the Wolverines. Man, did we have a thrilling finish the other day when Indiana Tech came into the Riddler. Are we in store for another one just like that? Coach Pickens kind of joked about that yesterday when we chatted with him in our weekly practice report. How many tight games they really just have had this season, as Chichester does knock that down to get it back up to 6, so timeout called. We'll be right back here on the Lawrence Tech Sports Network. You're watching Blue Devil men's basketball. It's a 59-53 game with 5:59 to go. We'll be right back here on LTSM. Welcome back to the Lawrence Tech Sports Network. Pleasure to be with you. Jason Ross Jr. here, producer Jenna Skalski. 5:45 to go. Second half, a 6-point game. 5 on the floor right now for Lawrence Tech. Searles, Ivanovic, Miles, Blakely. Here is Ivanovic. Can he get the hop? No, but the hops of Miles will earn the Blue Devils another possession. They go to Searles in the corner. Around and out. Look at Cumberland climbing the ladder. 3 chances here. Man, that's a promising vertical ability that Cumberland has. That he can mix in his game in several ways, that athleticism that he possesses. Clock will stop at 18 seconds on the shot clock. 5:13 to go in regulation. And the Blue Devils in the 1-and-1 now. Ivanovic. Never seems to touch the rim on those free throw attempts from Ivanovic. A guy in the late stages of this game, you know, as a shooter. It can be the free throw line that can get you in a rhythm. As Cumberland, once again, a nice effort on the boards there. Couldn't track it down, but what a sequence there for Isaiah Cumberland. Head coach Josh Pickens said that we want to focus on the process of getting better, and I felt that Saturday night we got back to getting better as a team. Can the Blue Devils get better in the final minutes now? Once again, they've stuck with the team all the way through, had leads at time. But here we are in the final 5 minutes. Who can execute, who can play the cleanest basketball, who can stay mentally prepared as the Michigan Dearborn Wolverines go back into this kind of zone trap basketball where they just kind of swallow up the shooters on the perimeter. Look at that kind of a three-man trap that they're going to. Can the Blue Devils find space in this with 6 on the shot clock? Cumberland, Searles, 4 on the shot clock. Searles around and off. That one just misses. Would have been a huge bucket with 4:20 to go. Just off the mark. And back come the Wolverines. A guy who had a big three-pointer earlier in this one, Jalen Paul. Guy inserted into the starting lineup this season. Sophomore from Fort Wayne. Calm player. A lot of youth on the floor right now for the Wolverines. Here's another freshman, Zach Latimer, who's played excellent basketball. 2 on the shot clock for Paul. He was fouled from distance. Ivanovic doesn't think he hit him, but Paul might have drawn a bit of contact there. 5-point game still with 3:55 to play in the second half. At the scores table, getting the check in for the Blue Devils is Bethel. At the scores table for the Wolverines, looks like we'll see Crawford come back in along with Jared Jackson. 6-point game. Remember, 3 free throws here. Late in the shot clock, too. That's one of the tougher fouls that you can take. And this is almost this is kind of what you would consider a 6-point swing. Searles off on the mark from distance at the other ends. And then the other way, Michigan Dearborn goes back, gets 3 of their own. So a swing there the last couple of possessions that really favored the Wolverines. Now the Blue Devils in need of a bucket. They try to go down low for Bethel. It clipped off a couple of fingertips fresh off the bench. Was Crawford making a nice defensive play. 3:35 to go, second half. Now they need a stop. Defending is one of those things that you have to do against top teams, as Josh Pickens has told us. Paul had some nice spring on that jump shot. Bethel in a battle for the board that time with Gigliotti, and the Blue Devils come away with it, a rebound they desperately needed. Nice crowd on hand tonight. Searles, long distance jumper from distance. He's off the mark, off the iron. 7-point game still with 3 minutes flat left in the second half. Josh Pickens calling his team to play the pressure defense. Blakely, he has the ability to do that against Paul. Paul uses the screen, gets the switch on Bethel. Now Gigliotti, a mismatch, down low, kicks to the corner. Crawford, Blue Devils kind of scrambling defensively, but it's a long triple from Crawford at the end of the shot clock. Off the mark, Blue Devils still with a chance, 2:30 to play. 7-point game. Searles barreling his way to the paint and finishes. Josh Pickens calls timeout, back to a 5-point game. 2:26 to go in regulation. We'll be right back. Thrilling moments ahead here on LTSN. Welcome back to LTSN. 2:26 to go in regulation. Blue Devils with a little bit of a trap look in the backcourt. Michigan Dearborn gets into the front court. Triple is down. That's a big, big bucket out of the timeout to get it back up to an 8-point game with just 2:16 to play. Bit of a dagger on the defensive side, and now the Blue Devils will need a quick bucket the other way out of the timeout. We'll be right back here on LTSN. Big shot from Michigan Dearborn to make it an 8-point game. Welcome back to LTSN. 2:07 to play. Second half, Searle, step back, got fouled from 3. If there was one thing you could have asked for, it was either a made 3 or getting fouled from distance. And now Ty Searles at 84% from the line will go to the free throw line for 3 free throws, and it'll be Cumberland at the scores table getting set to check in. Wait. Searles 1 for 2 so far. Still makes it a 6-point game. 2:02 to play. Blue Devils need a stop. This game far from over with the 3-point shooting ability that the Lawrence Tech Blue Devils possess. Quick timeout though called, as dribbling right over to the sideline was Cody Keegley. And he'll talk things over here with their coaching staff. And with 1:51 to go in the half, we'll be right back here on LTSN. Welcome back to LTSN. 1:51 to play in regulation of a 6-point game. This feels like a must-stop defensive possession for Lawrence Tech. Zach Latimer. To Paul. Guards have been very efficient today for the Wolverines, who are in search of their first WAC victory of the season. Getting fouled there on the way to the cup. Kind of trying to turn the corner was Keegley. Now he'll have the 1-and-1. Carter France, another 3-point shooter, will get ready to check back in here. Cumberland goes out. Cumberland, such a good performance on the boards tonight. Now Ivanovic in a 7-point game here on the Blue Devils. Searles, 20 points. Leading the way for Lawrence Tech. Just 1 of 11 for 3 though, but he knocks that down. Coming up big in the big moments. Head coach Josh Pickens said, in a game like this, you throw away the records, you throw away the numbers. In these moments, it's kind of throw away the rest of the game. Here we are right now. 4-point game, 80 seconds to go. Jackson. Over to Crawford. 6 on the shot clock. 4 on the shot clock. Crawford just on the rebound, pinballing around, finds his way to Searles, under a minute to play. Blue Devils find themselves in the same spot. Searles, what a shot! Ty Searles as clutch as it gets. Back-to-back triples to make it a 1-point game. The senior guard with 51 seconds left. Big-time moments call from big-time plays. We'll be right back here on the LTSN Sports Network. 51 seconds to go here in the second half. Welcome back to LTSN. We thought we could possibly be in store for a thrilling finish. Michigan-Dearborn hit a big 3 to make it an 8-point game just about a minute and a half ago, or maybe less than that. But now it's a 1-point game with 51 seconds left on the second half clock. Ty Searles, senior, second in the WAC in scoring. He was 1 of 11 from 3 up until those last couple of possessions. Back-to-back triples have made it a 1-point game. The Blue Devils in search of their 3rd WAC victory of the season. Here we go. Michigan-Dearborn with the offensive possession. 40 seconds to go. 20-second difference between shot and game. We got a foul away from the ball that'll give it back to Lawrence Tech. It happened underneath. And LTU has it back with 38.9 to play. So Miles comes back in here for Lawrence Tech. Josh Pickens calling for Searles to pick it up a little bit. 30 seconds to play. Searles diving into the paint, off the window and in! Ty Searles! What a showing, 3 possessions in a row. He's got 26 points. Back the other way comes Cody Keegley. The kick. 16 seconds. Shot clock is off. 1-point game. Blue Devils have the lead. Crowd is on their feet. Big WAC matchup. Don Riddler Fieldhouse. Xavier Crawford to the cup. It rolled off. Deflects out. Loose. 1 second. Stoppage and play. Jump ball going back to LTU. Ty Searles. Magic inside of the Riddler. With .4 left on the clock. What a sequence. Searles gets the inbound, that'll do it. My goodness, can you believe that? Ty Searles finishes with 28 points on the last 3 possessions. He scores all of Lawrence Tech's buckets. The game winner. My heart is racing. What a ending to this night. It's 9:50 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Where would you rather be? 66-65 the final here inside of the Riddler. Wow. What a game, what a comeback. The Blue Devils put together a complete performance. Last couple of games, they had it, they were at the edge, but couldn't quite finish it off. Now they finish it off. Once again, 66-65 your final, a scintillating performance. This team is good television, and they are revamped, they're reloaded, and they're ready to go. I'm Jason Ross Jr. For producer Cheniskalski, Desi Cook behind the cameras, signing off. Have a wonderful night. What a game.